Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Know Real Estate Ecosystem. I'm your host Anisha Bhatnagar, and today we are taking a fascinating deep dive into a side of real estate that's often less understood by general public but is incredibly impactful, which is commercial real estate. This is where major deals, strategic investments and true power players shape entire communities right before our eyes. I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined today by Jeannette Melillo, the Vice President of Sales at Newmark Associates. Jeannette is a highly respected leader in the New Jersey commercial real estate market, bringing extensive experience in office, medical, retail, and industrial property sales and leasing. If there's a significant commercial deal happening, chances are Jeannette has insights into it. Jeannette, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anisha. I'm thrilled to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to share more about the world of commercial real estate. It's such a dynamic and rewarding industry, and it shapes communities in ways that people don't even realize.
Jeannette, let's start at the beginning of your journey. What initially drew you into commercial real estate and how did you get your start in such a specialized field?
Well, actually, I started out in property management and leasing. What I realized early on was that if a prospective tenant came to me and didn't like any of the spaces that I was managing, I simply couldn't show them anything else. So it pushed me to get my license so I could offer them more.
Okay, so moving from property management and leasing to a broader commercial transaction is a significant pivot in itself. What was the steepest learning curve you faced in the transition? Were there any skills you had from property management that surprisingly translated into the commercial sales?
Well, for leasing, yes, everything that I did there worked for me with my license. The one thing that was different was the fact that now I had the opportunity to do sales and, I had never done that before. So there was quite the learning curve there because I didn't know what went into it, between inspections and things of that nature. I had no clue what all that was about for due diligence. It's much different. The only other thing that I had done was bought my own house. We all know that commercial is quite different from residential.
That's a fantastic origin story driven by a desire for more solutions. That brings us to a fundamental question for our listeners who might primarily be familiar with residential estate. How is commercial estate fundamentally different from residential? What are the core distinctions? Can you mention that for our audience?
Well, that's a great question. And it does have critical differences. In residential, deals are always based on emotion driven.
Yeah.
People are buying a home. It's their personal space, often tied to family lifestyle. In commercial, everything is strategy based. It's about investment return. It's about business decisions, solving a specific need for a company. The deal cycles are much longer. Clients come to you with very specific financial goals and operational requirements. And you're just not matching a buyer to a space. You're structuring a complete business solution.
Yeah, that clarity is really helpful. Given that strategic focus, who are your typical clients in commercial real estate, and perhaps how did that client base or their needs shift during a period like COVID-19?
Well, I work with a broad range. From local owners trying to lease up a vacancy to medical users, developers, large investors. During COVID, yes, things certainly shifted. Spent a lot of time helping clients renegotiate leases, securing some rent relief, adjusting terms. Really, it was finding creative ways to keep deals alive. It was a period of intense problem solving. I would say today, my role often involves helping clients navigate current market shifts, evaluating their options, and just move forward with confidence, regardless of the economic climate.
Got it. So, Jared, given your role as Vice President of Sales at Newmark Associates, can you just paint us a picture of your day? We would love to know what it looks like on those calmer, more productive days, and then contrast that with a day that throws you curveballs.
Well, in commercial, every deal's different. So my day could start out with a deal falling apart, and throughout the day, several phone calls trying to navigate it to get to put it back together. In between that, I could be showing another company several buildings going on a tour. And then it could come back to the office. I'm making calls for follow up from a tour I did 3 days ago and finding out more questions, or getting answers to some of the questions from the tour. So, I mean, there's very rarely a day of nothing to do. You always, everything's about follow up. Everything's about the relationship building. So I wouldn't say there's no downtime. I think the luxury for commercial real estate opposed to residential is residential's weekend based, where because with commercial, everything's business based. It's more Monday through Friday. That's not saying I've never worked a weekend, because I have, but it's not, you're just constantly in the business hours.
Right. So my next question would be, Janet, we talk about marketing shifts and emerging opportunities, right? So speaking of market shift, what would you say that has changed the most in commercial real estate landscape since 2020? What are the biggest transformation that you have witnessed?
I would say without a doubt, flexibility is now everything. Office tenants are consistently reevaluating their space needs. They're often looking for hybrid models. Local retail is rapidly shifting away from your typical store with goods to more of a services and more of a unique experience. Industrial was hotter than ever during the pandemic, and I would say it's still strong, but it has slowed down a bit. And the huge trend that's really taken off is adaptive reuse. That's turning something older, sometimes obsolete buildings into something entirely new, for medical facilities to multifamily residential.
Adaptive reuse is fascinating. Instead of demolishing an old structure, adaptive reuse involves renovating and modifying the existing building to suit a new purpose. So,
Yeah.
well, I can see sustainability is playing a very important role here, Janet. So, moving on to the next question. Are there any surprising sectors that are gaining significant momentum right now in New Jersey? Perhaps something the average person wouldn't expect.
Yes, absolutely. Medical offices growing incredibly fast, encompassing everything from urgent care centers to highly specialized clinics. I'm also seeing significant growth in the suburban professional spaces designed to serve a localized workforce, and a continued rise in locally owned retail concepts that really cater to and become part of their communities.
Okay, that is great, Janet. And if you allow me, I would like to explain and highlight some of these terms again for our viewers and listeners. So, firstly, you said medical office space. These are the spaces for healthcare facilities, right? That can,
Yes.
cool. That can include urgent care units, or it can be a whole specialized clinics.
Yes, everything is about the specialized, a lot of the medical space. So you used to have your local doctor's office, but it's not that small doctor's office anymore. Now they're bringing several professionals, or different types of doctors under one roof. Like St. Barnabas is doing it, Summit is doing, all the major medical groups are putting different things under one roof so you can go from one to the other. Same circle of doctors, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I want to understand one more thing. Are these medical office spaces located inside the hospital campuses or just outside the hospital campuses?
Outside,
Okay.
yes.
So, that is one for us and for our audience, which is medical office space. The second point you said is growth in suburban professional space. So, let me understand it this way. So, these are spaces that are basically our co-working space, right? Which are more smaller and which can be closer to our homes, reducing commutes, which is very local economic activity, if I would say.
Yes.
Perfect. Got it. And then the third point you said is locally owned retail concepts. These can be your local cafes, boutiques, your fitness studio, etc. Anything that is local to someone. Am I right?
Yes, something that I mean, I wouldn't say directly right around the corner, but in the little like, for example, in Rahway or Montclair, it's the whole trendy train stations close. It's easy to travel and walkability.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, so basically, these are the three places where anybody who is looking from an investment point of view can just invest, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Got it. So, following up on that, Janet, we all know real estate to be an evolving market. So, when you are advising clients, how do you help them future-proof their commercial investments? What factors do you think that just go beyond current rent rolls?
Well, it's about looking at the bigger picture. We look beyond the current rent rules. We deep dive into the zoning regulations, explore repositioning potential of the property, analyze tenant trends, identify what building improvements, sometimes even the smallest change, the smallest thing, it can unlock significant long-term gains. For example, a building that's traditionally used for medical might also be zoned for retail. So by marketing it creatively for retail, for medical use, you can actually attract a broader range of tenants and fill the space a little faster. We also look at things like converting underutilized storage areas into leasable square footage. So improving signage and interior or exterior lighting to boost curb appeal and proactively negotiating early lease extensions with strong tenants to stabilize the income of the building. These adjustments may seem minor by themselves on their own, but collectively they can dramatically boost the property's long-term marketability and overall value.
That is brilliant. It really showcases the strategic thinking involved. You mentioned adaptive reuse gaining momentum earlier. That's a concept many find really exciting. Can you just share a concrete example, perhaps one that truly stands out to you, of adaptive reuse in action?
Yeah, well, I wasn't personally involved in the project, but it's going to be called District 15 on Route 10 in Parsippany.
Okay.
That one definitely stands out as incredibly impressive. I'm in awe of it. This was a 288,000 square foot former Intel Corporation. It was their headquarters. They completely reimagined it into a mixed use hub for once it's complete, it's going to include 100 rooms for a hotel, 60,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space,
Wow.
and nearly 500 luxury apartments. Seeing that kind of transformation of it's an older single use building into something so vibrant and multifunctional is to me incredibly inspiring. So although I was not part of the project, I pass the project every day and see how it's moving along and know what the outcome's gonna be. And I find it really inspiring.
That's good. That's a massive undertaking and a testament to vision. Beyond those larger projects, are there any specific New Jersey towns or corridors where you currently seeing particularly interesting activities where it's new development or revitalization?
Yes, I would say that there's quite a few showing promising activity. You have central New Jersey, specifically towns like Berkeley Heights, Bridgewater, and East Brunswick. We've seen office leasing surge by like 47% in early 2025 in that region. Bridgewater Commons, for instance, is repositioning its mall, uh, the mall space for entertainment uses like Top Golf, which is a great example of adapting customer trends. So as I was saying, it's not necessarily about goods anymore. It's about service and it's about experience. So let's see, you have Bergen, Middlesex, Monmouth counties. Here are walkable downtowns are being revitalized with flexible retail, exciting mixed use concepts that create real sense of community. It's kind of offhand. So Berkeley Heights, that the corridor there, they took a 90s office park and they're currently being redeveloped into a dynamic mixed-use campus complete with trails and green space, really creating an environment. East Brunswick, particularly around exit 9, the One Tower Center was revamped with new tenant amenities and has nearly doubled its occupancy. And I would say finally Newark, the Halsey Street corridor, this area is seeing activity on all the storefronts, significantly supported by city grant programs, bringing new life to the streets. A lot
Okay.
going on.
Yeah, I can see that. There is a lot of places you have mentioned right there. So, those regional insights are invaluable, Janet. Now, I want to transition to a topic that's vital for understanding the full real estate ecosystem, that is, gender diversity. Commercial real estate has traditionally been a male dominated field. We all have heard about it. But from that perspective, what has your experience been as the woman in the field? And what has changed? What all changes you have witnessed over the years?
So I would say that my experience has been overwhelmingly positive, but I do recognize that's largely because I've had incredibly strong leadership ahead of me. My broker of record, Suzanne Newmark, she's been in the business for 40 years. When she started, there were very few women in the field. It was a much tougher landscape to navigate through because women like her are paving the way. It's certainly easier now. There's still more men in the industry, but there's also significantly more support, more mentorship, and a growing respect for women in leadership roles.
Absolutely. Well, I can see Suzanne has truly been a trailblazer, paving the way and setting an example for so many other women. Just for our audience, especially the women considering a career in commercial real estate, could you shed some light on what other landscape was like back then when, there were more challenges or situations women faced earlier that have shifted or improved today? What are the key differences that you have seen all by yourself, that there is a, yes, there is a major difference?
Well, I would say I haven't necessarily experienced it, but I've heard different stories from mentors that have been around for a longer time than I, where it was just a gentleman's game. Women weren't invited to play, so to speak. But now, I would say that we're respected in the field as long as I would say this. I think in just about everything, if you come to the table and you know what you're talking about and you're confident in what you're doing and you know what's going on in the deal that you're speaking of, then I think that you get the respect whether you're a woman or a man today.
Basically, it is the knowledge that, helps in thriving in this industry. It is just the knowledge, it is not more about focusing on the gender diversity, if I'm getting it
Right.
right.
I would say the experience that you bring to the deal and having the right mentorship. So, like I said earlier, Suzanne Newmark, she's been doing this for 40 years. You can ask her a question, and if you throw out numbers to her, I'm still working on my calculator, and she's throwing out the numbers from the top of her head. She's
Wow.
just amazing with what she does. So, and I would say she's very respected in this field. I think I've held my own, but I have a long way to go to catch up with her.
I get it. I get it. So that's a wonderful to hear something like this. It is so empowering. So for the women who might be listening, perhaps just starting out or considering a career in commercial real estate, What specific advice would you offer to them?
I would say because commercial real estate, it takes time. It's a long game. You need people around you who will support you through inevitable long learning curve, help you navigate complex situations and celebrate the wins, no matter how small or large. A good mentor can provide perspective and guidance that shortens that learning curve significantly.
Absolutely. On that note of proving yourself, was there ever a moment early in your career when you felt underestimated or had to truly prove your capabilities?
Absolutely. Well, early on, I was a property management. I quickly realized, like I said, I was limited. I couldn't show other spaces, and I knew I could do it if, it was just having that small inventory of what I was managing. There was
Yeah.
nothing, and I felt like I could do better. And close more deals because if they didn't like what I was showing them, I couldn't go anywhere else. So that was precisely when I said, okay, I have to get my real estate license. It's truly opened up everything for me. I remember the immense excitement, my first closing of $1 million sale.
Wow.
And now I'm currently working on a deal that's 5.75 million. It vividly showed me that um I guess there's a lot of possibilities out there once you take control of your career and continuously expand with your capabilities.
That's an inspiring trajectory, Janet. Now, I want you to loosen up a bit and let's have fun with our questions. So,
Okay.
I'll give you commercial property scenarios and you have to just tell me why is it a deal or a no deal, following up with a quick why. So, are you ready and are you excited?
Okay. I'm on the spot. Go ahead.
Okay, so scenario one. You are given a 100,000 square foot office building in a declining downtown area. What do you think about it?
I would say no deal
Okay.
unless you can convert it or it's a very long-term play for significant redevelopment.
Next one is you are given a strip mall with 40% vacancy, but it has a strong anchor tenants. What do you say to that?
I would say deal,
Yeah.
though, because the anchor tenant drives a lot of traffic and you can build on that.
Perfect. So, my next deal or no deal question will be how about a medical office building directly across from a major hospital?
Absolutely. Deal. It's a gold mine because all of your tenants work across the street.
Next one is a warehouse property that's already zoned for mixed use. Is it a deal or a no deal situation?
Deal. I would say it's a deal with vision. It's great for adaptive reuse and has built-in flexibility.
Great. And last and the final question is you are given a property in a suburb with currently low comparable sales but high growth projections for the future. What do you say to that?
I would say cautious deal, and
Mhm.
you need to look very closely for the confirmed infrastructure improvements, strong population growth, uh, to support those projects.
That's an excellent insight. You clearly have a sharp eye for each and every opportunity, Janet. So, moving to the core of what you do, what would you consider to be the most complex or perhaps the most rewarding deal you have ever closed so far?
I would say most rewarding was definitely a portfolio deal that it had 3 buildings and it came with a lot of complications, estate complications, significant unpaid rent, very outdated leases. It was I would say it required immense patience, a lot of creativity in finding solutions and a careful negotiating on all the sides. It was just incredibly rewarding when it actually came to the finish line. That's it. I would have to say that building or that portfolio.
Was there a specific point during that deal when it felt like it might completely fall apart?
Well, yes, there were many times that it was falling apart. There were so many different things that went into it. For example, we literally had a lease out for signature, and we were waiting for the tenant to sign, and then the owner would have to execute it. And along came a buyer that said, I want to put in an offer. I'd like to buy it. And he basically said, but I want that space and I need that space. And he picked a third space. Two of them had a tenant in it already. And the other space was the one that we were waiting for the lease. So going to the owner, we were it was his decision. He chose to prioritize the sale. And then we had to go to the tenants and ask them to leave. Going back and forth with that situation, one tenant was fine with leaving, the other tenant wasn't. So the owner, or the buyer, I should say, sorry, he basically said, well, I'm not buying the building unless that tenant leaves. He was saying, there's no deal. I won't buy it. I need it and he was a medical use. So each space was going to be a different type of medical use. So we had to stick with it and kept negotiating. And eventually the tenant did cave. It was a huge win, and it certainly tested everybody's patience.
So, what's your approach to mentoring, and how do you help the newer agents with the crucial skills that are needed very much in the industry?
I say you want to focus on showing them how to think like owners, not just brokers. We sit down, we look at real deals, we run numbers together, and constantly pushing them to ask better or more insightful questions. It's about a strategic mindset.
Got it. And what is a common mistake you frequently see new agents make in commercial real estate? Like, are there many mistakes or just one mistake?
No, I mean, I would say one of the most common mistakes, and I'm guilty of this, is not getting things in writing. In this business, verbal agreements aren't enough. Clarity, documentation protects you, your client, and the entire deal. It's fundamental.
What ultimately keeps you passionate about commercial real estate after all these years?
Every single day is different. I love the people I get to work with, the puzzle solving, that each unique deal presents, and especially seeing projects go from mere concept to tangible reality that impacts the community. That kind of impact never gets old, to me anyway.
Okay, so Janet, this has been absolutely fascinating conversation, shedding so much light on the intricacies and opportunities within commercial real estate. So before we wrap up, what is your final piece of advice for someone who is perhaps just starting out or considering a career in commercial real estate?
I would say my final advice is simple. Just jump in. Don't wait until you feel ready. You'll learn very much by just doing.
Agreed.
I would say start and keep learning every day. And most importantly, find people who challenge and support you along the way. This is a relationship business, and those connections are truly invaluable.
That's such a empowering advice, Janet, for our listeners who want to connect with you, learn more, or perhaps even have questions about a commercial property. What is the best platforms or the places where they can get in touch with you?
Well, they can always look me up on LinkedIn, Jeannette Melillo. They can always find me through Newmark Associates, our website, which is newmarkrealestate.com, and they can always call me.
Perfect. We'll make sure to include all the details that you have just said in the notes for easy access for everyone to, just get in touch with you. So, Janet, thank you again for sharing your incredible expertise and passion with us today.
Thank you, Anisha, for having me. It was truly a pleasure, and I genuinely appreciate the opportunity.
To our listeners, if Janet insights into commercial real estate have sparked your curiosity or inspired you to think differently about your career, make sure to subscribe, Let's Know Real Estate Ecosystem, and leave us a review. Your support helps us bring more insightful conversations like this one for you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep talking about real estate.